It's Dumb Guy Live
Yeah.
on Wednesday, which is weird. The first on Wednesday, Dumb Guy Live. But we're here. We're gonna do a tight hour. It's gonna be a good hour. It's gonna be a tight get out so they can do the watch along afterwards. I'm getting signal that my connection is bad. Is concerning to me. But we're gonna push through regardless. Jamie, how's it going today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. It's a weird one, like you said, the Wednesday podcast. Obviously we gotta get through it a little bit quicker. Luckily, we don't have too many things to get through. One big show, and a couple of little news bits, but other than that, should be all good. But yeah, I'm very happy that we're here this week. I didn't want to miss this week after the events in New Japan.
Mm-hmm. Murph, how's it going?
I woke up today to the very concerning news that QT Marshall is back in AEW. But you see, I ended up having a pretty good day thanks to some nice weather and the fact that we got Dumb Guy Live tonight. And to all the guys that don't have Valentines, we'll be your Valentines for the night.
Yeah, everybody who is watching right now, nobody who tunes in later. Only if you're watching right now live, you're my Valentine.
Yeah.
So thank you, I guess. Sorry, I did cook you on the DGL account. You posted an insane earbuds like screenshot of what you had been listening to recently, and I was like, I got so much secondhand embarrassment. I was like, what are you doing, bro? So yeah, it's been a minute, but yeah, it's good to see everybody. Happy Valentine's Day 6. We had a lovely on John closer lyric by lyric adapted for Guy Live here, which was pretty great. And yes, Icon, of course, will be your Valentine. Okay, guys, we're gonna get into the motherfucking show. So first big news item. We don't have to get super detailed into it because we already kind of talked about it when it was first announced. At least the departure was first announced. But sources have indicated that Okada, maybe the greatest Japanese wrestler of all time, in his first full-time contract with the company outside of New Japan since he was a rookie, is headed to All Elite Wrestling in the United States. It's a huge deal. It's a big shift in the pro wrestling landscape. I guess we kind of talked about, we've already kind of talked coming over to the States, and I think Jamie and I, our feelings kind of echo each other on both sides. We'd rather he stayed in New Japan, but you're gonna do what you're gonna do. I guess my question is, Jamie and Murph, as people who keep up with the AEW product more than I do, what should they do with him? Like, what are they gonna do with him? He's such a wrestler. It's practically unprecedented for somebody who is this reliant on like a classic Japanese strong style, you know what I mean, presentation, to come to the States. So what does that look like to you guys?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think kind of, I guess first, this is kind of the move we all kind of expected he would be making. I think the WWE thing was always a bit of an outside chance, but in terms of him going to AEW, I think a big factor in what this will look like will be what his schedule is able to be like. Is he going to move to the US, or is he going to live in Japan, kind of travel across, which is obviously one of the benefits that would have been there for the AEW that isn't there for WWE. So the fact that he's going to AEW, maybe they're going to let him be more flexible. I have no idea what Kazuchika Okada looks like as a TV wrestler in America. I don't know how they use him. I don't know how often we're going to see him. But I don't know. I get, obviously, we want to see him presented well and, right at the top of the card. But obviously, it's very, it's a very stacked roster. Pretty much the most stacked roster probably in American wrestling history. So it'll be a tough one for them to get him in. I think we probably won't see him every week, but I think they'll bring him in almost like how they use a Bryan Danielson. I think they'll have him in. They'll get the big matches out to him, and I guess they'll set up all the big matches that they want to get to. But yeah, I don't really know how this is going to work, but I'm interested to see it. But like you said, I'm not this isn't really the outcome I was hoping for. I was hoping he'd stay, but that ship sailed.
I tend to disagree with the fact that people would frame this as a problem for Tony Khan to have. I think this is a great problem for Tony Khan to have. You have one of the greatest wrestlers of all time on your payroll with this promotion as his main thing to do, and you're worried. And I don't think it's gonna be a problem because when you have a guy that's good, you're gonna take what you can get. And let's say there's 4 weeks in a month, and you say you get him 3 weeks out of that month. I'm gonna having Okada on TV building stories because the fact of the matter is, this isn't like a guy. For example, there are some New Japan wrestlers that you'd bring over, like a Hiroki Goto, who don't speak English, and then you have to like try and build a story with them, and that's just not going to work. But Okada, number one, has some English skill, and he has enough English skill to tell a story. And number two, Kazuchika Okada is one of the most aura-filled people. So honestly, him standing in a ring facing off of someone will be good enough. I mean, Okada is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and AEW is currently on one of their best booking runs since I believe 2021. So I am very ecstatic for this, and I think this is going to be a complete success. And I have full confidence in the booking team of Khan and Washington to get the best they can out of Kazuchika Okada. And I think that he's going to hit the ground running, whether it's at Revolution, whether it's at Big Business. I think it's at Revolution because Big Business is all about the money. But this whole thing is a great problem to have, and I think Kazuchika Okada in AEW is going to be a fucking success, and I'm thrilled for it. The fact of the matter is, would he probably be best back in New Japan? Yes. But here's the thing, he's faced everyone in New Japan, and honestly, this is so exciting for him to have all these fresh new matchups. Like, oh my god, you're going to get to see Okada versus Roderick Strong on a Collision, and that's a fresh matchup, and that's like one of the most inconsequential matchups. This is so awesome for the wrestling industry, and I am so excited for this.
I'm glad that you're excited. I'm not at all. I think it's pretty bad, but it's just the nature of the beast. Like, I don't give a shit about a promotion that employs Ric Flair in 2024, and I will continue not to. Like, everybody has their own preferences or whatever. It's fine. I don't really hold it against people who do, but I love Japanese wrestling. Fell in love with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like 8 years ago at this point, which is pretty crazy. And Okada was maybe the biggest reason why. So seeing him gone is going to be sad. Obviously, Ospreay, similar turn as you alluded to there as well. And we'll get to Ospreay's farewell here a little later. But there's a lot of decisions to be made in the New Japan side of things. So with that, let's move there to, and this isn't just Okada. Let's include Ospreay in this as well. What's next for New Japan? Naito's the champion. It's his last real run on top. We have all these young guys. They've Shota Umino's the closest they've came to really pulling the trigger on somebody. Uemura and Tsuji have a hair match coming up. We got Fantastica Mania going on, but like with everything that's going on in this company, with legitimately maybe their guys leaving in the span of just a few weeks from each other, what's next for New Japan Pro Wrestling?
I think it's a tough one. I think we've touched on it a couple of times now. There's so many guys who are kind of, you just mentioned a couple there, like the Shotas and the Sujis, the Yuyas, and then I see a few people there mentioning Zack Sabre Jr. in the chat, and obviously we're going to get to him a little bit later. But he feels like someone more than I think anyone in the company that they really need to focus in on this year. I think they will. We've lost Parker. It's a disaster, but yeah, I think Zack Sabre Jr. Obviously, particularly with the absence of Ospreay, they need a top guy. David Finlay is clearly not going to be that for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Zack Sabre Jr. is ready for the main event. Obviously, his performance at New Beginning in Osaka proved that again. So I think him, obviously, Shota Umino declaring himself the new ace. They need to really get behind him. I think he's probably going to take that Never Openweight title off Evil. I assume Evil's a bit of a transitional champion there. And yeah, just more on Tsuji, more on Yu. Yeah, be interested to see where they go with this hair versus hair thing and how they, it plays to both of their character arcs. But yeah, I think Shota, I would say Shota, Tsuji, and Zack are the three that I would really, if you can only focus on a couple, really focusing on them this year, because you had opportunities to do more of them last year. And look where we are now. If you'd have done that last year, if you acted, because the crowd were clearly invested in. You saw in the match between Suji and Sanada that the crowd wanted a Suji win. And obviously, Sanada ended up making it to Wrestle Kingdom. But if you act on these things sooner, you build these stars, then when things like this come around, you're in better position. So now that's too late. They need to get to correcting that.
I'm gonna do three big things to revitalize New Japan Pro Wrestling. Number one, Shota Umino is the guy, and I would push him as such. Shota Umino should have a very big push, and in my opinion, I think Shota Umino should be the champion by Dominion. The second thing I would do is I think a very important thing is they need to poach at least one star from another Japanese promotion, and I think that guy should be Katsuhiko Nakajima, who is currently a freelancer working in All Japan. I think New Japan should make a sustained push to get him because they need some more star power, and I think that's the type of guy you should get to do such that. The third thing I would do is I think Hiromu Takahashi and El Desperado should be moved up to the heavyweight division. I think those two could be guys who you could have main event big matches and be crucial parts of the G1. So those three big things. Umino is championed by Dominion. I would have the poach a star from another Japanese promotion, and I would get Desperado and Takahashi in the heavyweight division, and I think those three things will help New Japan revitalize itself in a front where Okada is no longer in the company and a guy like Tanahashi is no longer a focus.
I like all that. I completely echo pretty much everything you said. I think that they should just go all in with the young guys. Like, I think the story of this year's G1, last year was the young guys first in that A block, and this year is the year that they really start to dominate everything. I think it should be like, wow, who out of Shota, Narita, Suji, Uemura, Gabe Kidd, which of these young guys is going to take that extra step, take the mantle, become the top guy? I think if it were me, hopefully Murph comes back. If it were me, I would probably have Sabre win the New Japan Cup again. I would have him win the title from Naito. He can also challenge at Dominion. I think you can do Sabre, but I would have Sabre win the title. Then I would have Sabre hold it through Wrestle Kingdom, with Shota winning the G1, and then Sabre versus Shota Wrestle Kingdom main event. I think that's completely fair. I think it's one of the best wrestlers in the world in Sabre, who just came off one of the best matches in modern New Japan history. And you have the young guy that they're behind the most, and I think that combination is really good as well. You can throw Kaito in that mix too if he ends up signing. But even Oiwa is probably ready to be in the G1, right? So maybe he's in that mix too. Maybe he comes in and just maybe he's the one guy who's like the big story of this year's G1, coming in out of nowhere and winning stuff. But they have lots of really good veterans. But it's been a lot of the same in the main event scene for the last 5 years, and they finally can't rely on Ospreay or Okada anymore. And so it's time to see some change. It's a little disappointed that they had to force the changes, but I guess that's how these things happen, right? Completely agree that Hiromu and Desperado should be heavyweights, by the way. It's like incomprehensible why they don't. Like, they would make business sense. I just feel like they would make so much more money as heavyweights than they do juniors. But anything to add there, Jamie?
Yeah, I think the point on Hiromu and Despi moving up, I think that's a good point. I think obviously we've talked a few times about the junior division in New Japan and how we think that they probably need a few new bodies in there. I think coming out of the Osaka show, which we're going to get to, I think they are better positioned to build up some bigger stars this year in that division. And I think if you were to move a Desperado or a Hiromu, as I think they've got players like Francesco Akira, who we'll get to later, I think, who could be a top star in that junior division. Obviously, they seemingly have a lot of stock in Callum Newman, who they're going to be building up, seemingly as the heir to Ospreay over the next couple of years. And obviously Kosei Fujita as well, another young guy that's shown a lot of promise very, very quickly. So I think they can definitely afford to move those two up. And again, if you have to bring in some more talent from outside, then I'm sure Bushiroad are capable of doing that. But yeah, they absolutely have the players. It's just about acting on it, and it's taken them too long, and now we're in the position, like you said, where it's been forced upon them. So in a way, it is disappointing, but it's also exciting because we know they've got to do something now, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, with that, let's talk about the sea change a bit, as I just changed. There we go. Let's talk about that a little bit with our review of New Japan's New Beginning in Osaka show from this weekend. I don't think there was a ton to talk about on the undercard, unless I'm missing something. I thought on a United Empire, like Okada was pretty good. It was like really short, but I thought it was pretty good for what it was. By the way, this is like the least compelling world title feud in like a while in New Japan. Like just the rematch from Wrestle Kingdom, there's zero people who think Sonata has a chance. It's completely been overshadowed by the fact that Taichi versus Shingo is always the best interaction in these undercard tags, and Tsuji versus Uemura is a way more heated and personal feud than versus Sonata, which is weird because Sonata left LIJ and they should be able to make it personal. But with that, let's move on to the important stuff on this show. The first thing being Kazuchika Okada's last singles match in New Japan, at least for the time being. And that was him defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi, his most famous rival, in about 16 minutes. Match was really good. Obviously did not reach the heights of their best stuff. You know, they've gone 40 minutes in the past, so you wouldn't really expect it to reach that level, but very good match, very heartfelt closing stretch. A little bit surprising that Okada got the win instead of taking the pin to Tanahashi, but we'll see if.
I mean, if you look at the cards for the next New Beginning, I mean, it looks like Okada's just like, not going to be putting over or doing anything. Because did you see he's in the second match for his final New Japan match? He's in the second match in a 10-man tag. That is insane. Yep. There must be some bad throws there.
Well, I mean, it's just sometimes you feature somebody, sometimes you don't. I think wrestlers should have the wherewithal and the power to go wherever they want at any time for the most part. So I don't blame him for leaving or anything like that. But at the same time, it's very clear he did not have much notice on this, as evidenced by them having to change cards, which they never do. So, so we'll be able to see that. We'll preview those shows next week because they are more than a week away. But yeah, we'll get to that next week. But Jamie, thoughts on Tanahashi versus Okada?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, as you said, it wasn't anywhere close to the heights that these two have hit before, but it's a very, very high bar. But I like the way they played to it. Firstly, it was obviously a very vibes match. The crowd were obviously they were up for this one for both of them. But at this stage in the game with Tanahashi, he's obviously got a few physical limitations in terms of what he can do. He obviously can't work the same matches that he used to with Kazuchika Okada. Even though Okada was obviously, they were cheering for him at the beginning of this match, and it was just, one of his kind of send-off matches. Because of those physical limitations of Tanahashi, Okada still worked as like a bit of a dick, and he was still kind of, leaning into the same kind of character tropes he's been doing over the past year plus. And I think that worked very well for this match, as much as obviously it was still kind of a send-off for him. I think still playing up to being a dick against a guy like Tanahashi, I think allowed this match to be the best version of what it could be at this stage. So nothing spectacular, but it was nice to see these two back in the ring again. It wouldn't have felt right for Okada to just leave without these two getting one more go at it in Japan. And I mean, I wasn't too surprised with the result. I didn't really think Okada would be kind of putting him over on the way. And Tanahashi doesn't need it as well, right? If you were going to have Okada put anyone over, I'd prefer it to have been a Shota, but a good match. I like the way they put it together, and probably the last time we'll see this for a long time. It would be weird to see this at a Forbidden Door or something like that, which I don't know. Seeing Ospreay and Okada on the other team Forbidden Door is going to be a weird thing to see how they play with that. But yeah, I thought this was good.
I think the next time we'll see this match is Tanahashi's retirement match at this point. I mean, it was a nice, Tanahashi coming out to his old theme really made me happy. I saw the Ash put the actual clip without the the copyright, but that's actually one of my favorite themes of all time. So that really made me happy. And this match was good. It wasn't like as great as Okada and Tanahashi matches have been in the past, but it was a great match because that's just they're incapable of having a bad match together.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into the next match here, we got a $10 super star win, one of our most reliable super chat. DGL, the place where excellence resides. I enjoyed Murph's fantasy booking of New Japan. Shout out. Ron Moore likes your plans. He likes your vision for the company. All right. So let's to the IWGP World. What am I stupid? The IWGP Tag Title match. It's all Murph's fault somehow. But this was garbage. This sucked. This was Chase Owens and Kenta beating the Guerrillas of Destiny, Hikuleo, and El Phantasmo for the IWGP titles, not the strong ones. Chase Owens is currently the holder of a title with IWGP in front of it. This sucked. It was not a good reign. This reign is going to be terrible. I will not care about this title other than Chase Owens is holding it. It is remarkable that they managed to put the titles on a worse team than a team with Hikuleo on it. But they did. Jamie, I assume you feel the same way.
Yeah, there's not really to break down in the match. The match is obviously it was exactly what you would expected. Not good at all, really. The results, I shouldn't have been surprised because New Japan's tag division has never really, it's not been the greatest for a little while. But even still, you talked about when they announced these, the series of 2 matches here for both titles. If they were going to win one, the strong titles, this team shouldn't have won either of those belts, right? But if they were going to win one, you'd imagine, Kenta, he lives in America, right? And obviously Chase Owens. So if they were going to do that, they were going to give them the tag belts, then that would have made sense. But to see Chase Owens holding an IWGP title in 2024 is insane. The tag division in New Japan is just not really. It's kind of non-existent, to be honest. There are teams they could put together, and there are teams they could bring over. But I mean, with these two with the belts, it kind of shows what their priorities are in terms of how much they want to focus on the tag division. It's pretty much non-existent. So this wasn't good. And yeah, I don't really have much more to say on it. It's just I don't want to see these two. Well, I don't want to see Chase Owens, really.
I'll be frank with you. I didn't watch this match because I don't really like wasting my time. So I knew the result before I watched it, so I just didn't watch it, and it probably sucked. I mean, if you watched it, it probably sucked, and I'm sorry for your time. I was, other than the Texas wrestling title, whatever the fuck he was carrying around that one time, I don't want to see Chase Owens with any gold because he fucking sucks. I mean, he can carry around his little Texas wrestling championship if he really wants to, but he sucks. And I every day I'm mad that Matt Jackson or whichever Jackson it was hurt his foot, and Chase Owens had to go to Best of Super Juniors, and now we're stuck with him in fucking 2024.
Hard to find 2 matches with much bigger distance and quality between them going into this next one, where we had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Bryan Danielson in over a half hour in a match that many people are saying was just as good as their Wrestle Dream match, which many people had as last year's match of the year. This year's version of Omega versus Ospreay. I'm not going to get into. I'll get into my stuff after you guys go. But holy shit, this match was great. I have to confess something to people. I didn't ever watch Wrestle Dream. I never watched it because I don't. It was like I just don't care about AEW anymore because of again their hiring practice. So like, there's a lot of AEW stuff I haven't seen. I have not seen the Texas Death Match. I have not seen the Swerve and Hangman one. I haven't seen a lot from AEW. I'm very glad that they did this match in New Japan because holy shit, it was good. But I'm gonna yap for a little bit. So Jamie, take it away first. So I'm not cutting you off so much.
Oh yeah, This was incredible. This was a worthy sequel to the first one. Before we went live, I saw Recipes tweeted out Joe Hulbert's match review of this, so I kind of took a peek at it. And one of the things that he said, I think, because Joe's one of the best guys at kind of articulating his thoughts on these matches, and he said this match kind of worked in reverse to how the match in Seattle worked. Obviously, the first one was kind of more technical to begin with, and then got much more intense. This one kind of flipped that around, and they were, there was a real edge to it at the beginning, and I think Danielson being away from the Seattle crowd and being a bit more of a villain, whereas obviously Zack Sabre Jr. is a bit more of I was about to say a hometown favorite. He's clearly not a hometown favorite, but he's the New Japan guy, right? So they're going to back him there, and I think that allowed this to have a bit of a different edge to it. But I mean, we talked about before this match. These two are the best technical wrestlers in the world, and it was very, very, very evident. Pulling out stuff that you don't really see for many of the wrestlers. That it felt like there weren't a lot of kind of like pinfall attempts or anything, but it did feel like the match could end at any point just because of how they worked this one, and it felt like at any point one of them could have caught that submission or snuck a pinfall in, which is obviously how we got to the finish. But yeah, kind of as Joe put in his review, it was very, very intense to begin with, and then it played upon how the first one ended in obviously Danielson, getting the pinfall, whereas Zack Sabre Jr. was obviously looking for a submission. By the time we got to the end of this one, it got to the point where it was Zack Sabre Jr. who was looking for the pinfall, and so I think it sets up very well at a potential trilogy ender here, where we obviously get a definitive maybe a submission victory between these two. But I think as a sequel to the first one, I think this was absolutely perfect in the way they structured it, the way they put it together and flipped it on its head. And just two absolute wrestling geniuses. It's the best way I can put it.
This match was awesome. It was I did prefer the match in October a little better, or a little more. I thought it was a more complete match, but this one was really good too. And the crowd, man, the crowd was into this match like I haven't really seen. It was amazing, and the right winner considering it's in Japan, and I think they can run it back and probably it all in my opinion, and get a decisive winner there. But wow, great match, and Brian in Japan is something I never thought I'd see again and a while ago, and now that we have it, and we're extremely lucky. They just announced Brian in Arena Mexico, and if this is the last year of Brian Wrestling Weekly, it's been a pretty fucking good one.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, I mean, how lucky we are. I feel like I say this, once a month, because there is so much good wrestling out there, but how lucky are we that Bryan Danielson, we get to see him in Japan wrestling. Like, not to go all like play on that, but I mean, it's just different. Like it's just different. And so I'm just very thankful that he has that opportunity. I thought this match was absolutely incredible. The best match I've seen this year. In fact, I think it probably is the best match I've seen this year. Just like so fucking good. Like, I love that they're really similar, obviously, Danielson and Sabre, but they're different in the sense of like Danielson's just a little bit more aggressive. He's obviously the veteran between the two. Sabre has done a great job like filling out his physique to where he keeps the like sort of windy like work that he likes to do and the flexibility and everything, but he comes across as way more of a threat when he does his strikes. And obviously, as we saw, the slap exchanges that they had were stellar, to the point that they were causing like discourse on Twitter about them. It was such a great match. I love one of the best things, and I'm so glad that you mentioned Joe's review, because I actually went and just looked at it right now, and he mentioned something that absolutely crossed my mind when I was, which was that there's all this talk about who the best like technical wrestler in the world is, right? And I tend to think those conversations are a little like I don't know, goofy sometimes, because where's like the bright line that you talk about technical wrestling, and also like who cares sometimes, you know what I mean? But because people will say that like Sabre's the best technical, Danielson's a better overall wrestler, but Danielson's also a technical wrestler, so like, what does that mean? But anyway, when Bryan Danielson signed with WWE the first time, he was the best wrestler in the world. All right. And by extension, probably the best technical wrestler in the world. And there weren't really all that many, aside from some ROH guys, there weren't that many wrestlers on the indies who really focus on technical stuff until Evolve came around. And it was really Sabre who took up that mantle of being like the technical wrestling guy on the indies. And then, of course, then in New Japan. Danielson, for a lot of matches, didn't really display the style that he displays right now when he's in AEW and New Japan. So it felt to me, like Joe says, like Danielson never lost that title of best in the world, and Sabre might have it right now. So it feels like Sabre, in the first match, Danielson wins it back, but then in this match, Sabre's like, no, it's actually me. And so you get the home and home. They do a rubber match, maybe at Forbidden Door or something like that, and we see who the better of the two is. But it was so violent, so intentional, so targeted. Like Danielson in particular is probably the best wrestler ever at making every single thing he does intentional. Very little superfluous action, like movement, anything like that. He lays down for exactly how long he should lay down when he's selling. He gets up and fights exactly when he should. It's just great. I don't even know how you end this feud, by the way. Like maybe, maybe Sabre wins the New Japan Cup, and then it's Sabre defending against Danielson at Dominion. How great would that be, right? But whatever they end up doing, it's just it's going to be stellar. I mean, they like the great ones. There's so many there's so many matches, I think, where people are like, whenever they end up coming back. I know people have talked about like Swerve and Hangman like this, right? Whenever they run it back, it's like, how are they going to top it? The great ones always do. The great ones always figure out a way to top it, or at least come very, very close. So I thought this match was just incredible. And I'm so glad that Danielson gets his shot in Japan after so long. So yeah, makes me very happy. Shout out to Sabre too. He could have just been content to be typecast as the technical guy, right? In New Japan, kind of like a Suzuki light a little bit, but he is absolutely like he is Minoru Suzuki right now in New Japan. As Suzuki himself has become freelance and not really been a regular member of the roster for a couple of years, Sabre has effortlessly picked up that mantle. He is Suzuki in how he's portrayed and how he wrestles, and I think that's so fitting because they were great together in Suzuki-gun. So, anything else to add on this one?
No, I think it's just more of what we talked about when we talked about Okada leaving. I think this is more evidence that they need to pull the trigger on Sabre this year. He's, like you said, he's rounded out his game so perfectly that with the departures they've got, they need to do it now. And then the only other thing I'll add is, I don't know if any of you caught that Sabre called out Okada after the match, and I thought maybe this would play into like Okada's like last two matches, and then it didn't. So I don't know what Zach was waffling about, but I don't know. Maybe we'll get that at some point down the line. But yeah, I need Sabre holding that IWGP title this year at some point.
All right, let's move on to this crazy, newsworthy main event that came out of this show. It is the end of New Japan, the 5-hour game style the United Empire and the Bullet Club War Dogs. This match went an hour and 4 minutes. But there's a train going on, Jamie, so I might have you give me the little recap, the run. But oh my God, the violence in this match. Now, some people have criticized the length, but just give people the rundown and your thoughts here.
Yeah, so this one obviously 5v5 war games kind of style, although it wasn't really. It didn't look like how the American style war games where we always had the one ring and a pretty funny looking cage. But we started out with Ospreay and David Finlay. Then obviously we gradually get the rest of the guys coming in. There was some outside shenanigans from the likes of Callum Newman. Gedo, of course, got involved. But yeah, this one has been very, very divisive for its length, for its you know, the drama and the different times they could have gone to a finish, and they leveled up seemingly, or at least attempted to level up every time a finish seemingly presented itself. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on in this match. I'm trying to think back to recap it. We obviously had, you know, we had all the weapons you would expect. We had barbed wire tables, we had thumbtacks, we had, I think it was Clark Connors was hung on the rope or something. It may have been Driller Maloney. I'm not too sure. We had the Aswang. We had all sorts. It was carnage. And Bullet Club War Dogs eventually got the pin after Will Ospreay. You know, it was his United Empire teammates had kind of been beaten up around the ring, and Ospreay had nothing left, and the War Dogs were able to put him away. You know, he goes for the hidden blade and kind of collapses on himself. He had nothing left, but a very, very long match. Obviously, we'll get into it more in a minute on in terms of how much we enjoyed the length of it and whether we thought, you know, it could have been a bit shorter or whether they got it right given the circumstances. But yeah, a divisive one. But I think I enjoyed it for the most part.
Before I talk about how much I love this match, I'm just gonna bring up something real quick. The cage looked so stupid. I thought the cage sucked.
It looked, yeah, no, I agree. It was really, it looked very
so
minor.
dumb. Like, get one of the cages, like a Dragon Gate cage that Stardom uses now. Like, you have a cage in your ecosystem where you have the young boys set it up. It's like around the ring. It's a cage. This cage looked dumb. It looked like a fence you'd have in your backyard. Like that's the one thing I did not like. But outside of that, man, I love this match. I thought the rules worked well. I thought the War Dogs were tremendous. Hinare was great. I believe it was Drill Maloney. He came out dragging Callum Newton into the ring. I really enjoyed that. I don't know why. But there were just a bunch of things like the Gabe Kidd and Hinare spot, which a lot of people have talked about. Unbelievable. No, this was just a very, very great match, and it wasn't what I expected, but it was a lot bloodier and a lot more vindictive than I expected. But I loved it. It was a great match.
Yeah, this was I don't mean this pejoratively because I actually enjoyed this era, but this reminded me of an NXT War Games match, but like R-rated. It was all the big spots, all the creativity that you would come to expect, but the creativity wasn't so much in like high spots per se as it was in like how can we kill people, like how can we like create a sense of danger, right? I don't think a WWE War Games match has felt like truly unsafe in a long, long time, right? Like they're very sterile, even though I think they almost always end up being great. This one was like, okay, we do all the we ratchet up all the intensity and make it very dangerous for everybody what we got. I thought there were three this match that really stood out to me. You already talked about Hinare, who I hope he is okay because he was fucked up after this match. I thought Francesco Akira was incredible. He's one who I've been like just a huge believer in because I saw him in his All Japan days, and I just knew he was going to be great no matter where he went. And yet again, as usual, Gabe Kidd just continues every single time he's in the match. Like he wasn't like a central part per se a lot of the time, but everything he did, like he felt like anytime he was in the mix, the momentum of the match just felt way more like forward moving, I guess, and just very unsettling. Like I didn't know what he next. I thought just about everybody in the match was stellar though. Like Drilla Maloney was kind of out of his mind, which showed a new side of him. I do think I like the TJP gimmick. I think it's good. Some people think it's stupid. I like it. I just like TJP generally. But even like Cobb with like they were able to make Cobb feel like a big deal when he came out. Like, oh God, we got to take care of this guy. The worst guy in the match was David fucking Finlay. Like he was the worst guy in the match. Yeah, he just has no dog in him. Like he has no sauce, he has no nothing. He has a new finish, I guess. Like that's
He
cool.
was more of a
But
threat when he was literally in Fin Juice. Like this is like the guy is
yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
And I don't know how New Japan
When he
has
was in Finjuice, I was like, oh, he can pin Sonata in a tag match. You know what I mean? But here I'm like, oh, he has to have his
He
war dog
still looks like dressed
much
up Jay
like
White. He looks like someone who's trying to be Jay
like.
White for Halloween.
Well, it's just preposterous. Like the war dogs, like specifically the heavyweight ones, Coughlin, who might be done with wrestling. I tend to like not put a ton of stock in that, but we'll see. And the Gabe Kidd, like they're just like I don't want to be one of those guys who puts someone Zeke and stuff like that. But like, why would these guys ever take any advice from David Finlay? Like Coughlin and Kidd are so jacked and like shredded and like clearly just like stronger and better at wrestling than David Finlay is. Like, I don't know why they would ever like in kayfabe even listen to him. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Finlay fucking sucks, but hopefully one of these times we get the turn here that makes Gabe Kidd the Bullet Club leader, which seems like the right call to make. Yeah. So anyway, I thought this match was great. It was the first like it took like a while to like really get going. Like they should have cut down the time, I feel like, between wrestlers. I know they had all the spots they wanted to get to, but like there was wait moments where it was clear that they wanted to keep the energy up, but they had like a lot of time to fill, right? But Ospreay was great, obviously, as you would expect, and he got a nice emotional send off at the end after being pinned by David Finlay. But I guess that's what you do.
That was my biggest problem with the match. Number one, no war game style match should ever end in a pin. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. Because like it should be submission or surrender, like WCW, like Dusty intended it. Number two, but in a more positive sense, that Osprey farewell, like I got so happy seeing that because when they went Osprey, Osprey, dun dun dun, like that was awesome. Just like seeing, he was a kid who came in for a match with Kushida at Ryogoku in 2016 as a nobody. He came in as a literal nobody, and now he's a god to these people. And it honestly made me sad a little bit too because number one, it's a chapter done, but also two, I really, really, really wish Kenny Omega got that same goodbye. And he didn't because, Harold Beige. But no, Kenny Omega should have gotten that same goodbye. But I'm happy that the rights are being wronged and that Ospreay that get that type of goodbye too. But I didn't. My first thought during that was, damn, Kenny should have gotten this.
All right. Yeah. Anything else to add? Yeah, Jamie, go for it.
Yeah, I was kind of echoing what you guys already said. I love this match as well as much of it was very diverse with its length. I think outside of like David Finlay, as we mentioned, I think every time someone entered this match, even if they were kind of on the lower end of kind of importance in terms of their status, I think they felt like a threat coming in because some of them had like fucking, either crazy weapons or they were just unhinged, like Hanare walking out there. He felt like a dangerous man going into that cage. The way Akira came into it as well, I think, and his story throughout the match and obviously the post match, I think was told excellently. Him coming in and kind of shooting up the cage and then diving, in the speed that he did. Sometimes those things can look a little bit silly and kind of, a little bit too almost everyone kind of getting together, waiting for a dive. I think the way they pulled it off made it a little bit more believable. But as much as it was obviously, it definitely could have been cut down a little bit. Well, a fair bit, but I found myself engaged with it throughout. They kept taking it to the next level, and I don't think I had as much of an issue with the length as others did. But yeah, I thought it was a very fun way to send off Will Ospreay. Obviously, the result wasn't exactly what we'd have expected, but a very crazy match, a match that we don't really ever see in a New Japan ring. So I think it kind of served its purpose there. But yeah, one I think is going to there'll be a lot of discourse on that one for a long, long time, I think.
On the length, it was less so like there are some matches that where people are like, "Oh, this is just too long," right? For me, it was like anytime there was downtime, I was like, "Okay, I want to get to the next thing." Like I wanted to see, and there's just so much like I feel like selling for selling's sake as opposed to just getting to the next thing because when you have 10 people in a match, like ostensibly somebody is healthy and ready and able to be in some sequence at some point. So, yeah. But anyway, I thought the match was stellar. It was a great send off, super violent, super enjoyable. I felt like from start to finish. So it was great. We have I'll do just a quick little preview of the Fantastica Mania stuff we have going on. The big matches are the first of all, there's like a challenge match between Titan and your guy Briante Jr. On Sunday at Korakuen. Then the double main is Soberano versus Templario, which they've had classics against each other. And speaking of classics against each other, Volador versus Rocky Romero is the main event on Sunday. And then on Monday, matches are first of all, there's Atlantis Jr. versus Hechicero, which is a big time heavyweight match. And then Mystico versus Ultimo Guerrero. They've wrestled a million times. And the main event of the whole tour is Mascara Dorada versus Stuka Jr. So obviously putting a lot of stock into Dorada as usual. Yeah, not a whole ton to say there. We're getting a little low on time. So let's move on to a little bit of Stardom. All right,
Yes.
let's talk Stardom. So a week ago, we gave our full reaction on Rossy Ogawa leaving, being from World Wondering Stardom. Few more things have come out, most notably his intent to start a new promotion, and we're getting like specifics around it, including talent that we think might be following him versus staying with Bushiroad. So, Jamie, what's the report on Rossy and Stardom?
Yeah, so as you said, Ogawa told Tokyo Sports that he is definitely planning to start his new promotion. We don't really have an exact time frame on it, and we know talent are going to be free from Stardom by the end of March. So I guess we could kind of estimate on when that could be. The biggest kind of talent, the speculation around talent at the moment is Mayu Iwatani. Obviously, a Stardom original, been there since the promotion's formation 13 years ago. She had a bit of a lot of tweets over the last couple of days, kind of worrying at some stages, seemingly obviously very distressed about the situation. She then did an interview with Tokyo Sports a couple of days ago, kind of clarified what was going on there, and she revealed that she is undecided about her future, but very loyal to Rossy Ogawa, which I think says, I think is kind of, I think it gives us the answer without her being able to give us the answer. I think she's almost certainly going to follow Rossy. She seems, we've had kind of varying reports from the Observer as well relating to her contract and how she feels about that from a few different sources. But so I think Mayu Iwatani is the big one to watch, but obviously it depends on when that contract comes up. Tam Nakano, we talked about this one last week. She's kind of definitively stated that she will be staying in Stardom, which is a big one. As I said, we talked about it last week, her being voted the most popular wrestler in Japan by Shupro, ahead of the likes of Tetsuya Naito. So in terms of from a business standpoint, just for potentially Rossy or it seems Bushiroad with Stardom, that was a big one. So Tam staying is a very, very good thing for Stardom. And I guess looking at it in terms of the talent in Stardom seem very close with their specific units, and I feel like the units are kind of you always see them all together and stuff like that. I feel like looking at where one talent might go in relation to their kind of their stablemates, I would hazard guess the Cosmic Angels kind of group, and then of course I guess EXV as well. In terms of Mike, could probably stay in Mina Shirakawa and very Bushiroad, kind of some Bushiroad likes a lot in there. I would hazard guess that those kind of wrestlers are probably sticking around. I would be looking at Stars. A lot of the people in Stars, again, very close with Mayu. A lot of them Stardom originals, come through the dojo there as people who are going to be loyal to Rossy. And then I guess people like kind of Azumi, who've been there again a long time, Saki Kashima. So it's a lot of it is still very much speculation, but we've had a bit more of an indication from a couple of talents. Micah seems she kind of hasn't really. Again, Micah and Shuri haven't given a definitive answer. Shuri's seemed more vague in the sense that I feel like she may be someone who could look to leave Stardom, whereas Micah, I think I would hazard a guess that obviously Bushiroad are very much behind her, so I think she'll stay. And of course, the last thing will be Julia. We obviously expect Julia to head with Rossy at least temporarily before WWE. So that's kind of the situation as it stands. But sorry, the last thing that I'll add to the Rossy thing is from the Supreme Fight pay-per-view, and they had the 13th anniversary 4v4 tag, and in the Observer, I'm trying to remember the specifics of it, but they said I think two ahead and with I believe it was two ahead and with Rossy, two are contractual, you're kind of legally prevented from leaving. One is expected to freelance a little bit and may appear with Rossy, and then one is kind of undecided. I may have mixed the numbers up a little bit there, but off the top of my head, that was Mayu, Utami, Azumi, Nanae Takahashi, Julia, Suzu, Mirai, and Shuri. So I guess kind of speculating there on who may fit the bill there. Obviously, Mayu seems like one who's legally kind of prevented from leaving at this stage. Guessing who the other one would be is tough. I guess you can look at maybe what contract lengths could be. I guess Suzu's a recent signing, so maybe she's not freed up in March like some of the others. Julie would say is going. I think Nanae is probably the one who will go freelance and may appear with Rossy. But from there, I think it's kind of open in terms of who fits what bill and falls into what category. But I'm interested to see what you guys think there and who you think will be heading with Rossy and who'll be staying.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the safest bets are Stars leaving and anyone Cosmic Angels affiliated. And I would say Micah's stable as well, staying. That all seems pretty safe. I'm really into a lot of the people. It feels like a lot of Queen's Quest would probably leave towards leaving. Really, for whatever reason, I'm just so intrigued on where Shuri goes.
Yeah.
Because I can see strong arguments either way, right? Shuri is actual like mainstream like knowledge about from a UFC fighter. And maybe she would prefer stability of a company like that's backed by somebody like Stardom or by Bushiroad, right? But maybe Ron why she was even signed and pushed. So that's an interesting one for me. I think some of those people like the TJPW signings a lot. I feel like them like Mina or Shirakawa feel like Bushiroad types, right? But someone like Mirai, you know, it's more unclear. So yeah, I'm just interested. I mean, I'm kind of sad that like Stardom, we were so excited. You know, they had this incredible 5-star GP last summer, right? And we were just excited for next year. You know, maybe they had fewer injuries in 2024, and the tournament gets even better. And now it's not going to happen like that. There will be there is a decent. Do not see a tournament, a women's tournament as good as that one, for like decades. Based on the way the talent has shaken up.
This whole ordeal reminds me. This is a very weird comparison, but in the 1990s, American open wheel auto racing split into two companies, and you know, it was very based on a monetary dispute, and it was actually about where the ovals would be. But this actually reminds me of that because you're gonna have great talent on both sides, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see which one is better and which one isn't. And it's going to be pretty cool. As an unbiased fan like me, but if you're a big Stardom fan, I understand it would suck. But that's what I was able to compare it to. But no, we'll go to those super chats next.
Yeah, we got a couple super chats here. $10 from Will Chisholm. With Okada, Will, and Jay White leaving New Japan, where does this stand? Is it as bad as Kenny and the Bucks and Cody leaving? Like Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and the Good Brothers leaving? I mean, it's probably bigger than all those.
It's worse.
Yeah.
With all of this, they always had Okada and Tanahashi to lean on, right? They don't have Okada anymore. Tanahashi is going to be taking a step back, has already taken a step back. There are other guys like Naito. Like Naito's probably going to be taking a step back after this reign. You know, they don't have the guys like Suzuki involved like they did before. Ibushi's not around anymore, right? This is big. This feels like the biggest change, at least since I've been a fan in New Japan.
Yeah, it's kind of the last couple of pieces of that main event scene that's been so kind of dominant in New Japan for a long time. Obviously, as I said, Naito and Tanahashi are kind of winding down at this stage in the game. You'd assume this is Naito's last big run. So yeah, it's the biggest move in probably in Japanese wrestling history. I don't think there's ever been a time where the guy has left Japan for America.
Aside from like the Noah exodus, I'd say.
Yeah, of
that would be
course.
the only other thing,
Yeah.
So,
It's huge.
Pretty huge.
Yeah. We also have another one. Will Chisholm just throwing it at us. $20. The way Uncle Dave talks is that Julia is going to Rossy's company to get it started, then go to WWE. By dark timelines, seems like WWE will try to make Julia a bridge. So WWE with him. Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, I feel like a lot of the conversation, and this isn't targeted at you, Will. This is more like the general conversation, but like so many of the conversations around like Rossy, WWE, and Julia completely take away any agency of Julia to like make her own adult decisions as like a wrestler, right? Like if she's like she doesn't want to be like used probably as like a bridge to support, like she wants to make money and like wrestle, right? Maybe I have a wrong read on who she is, but I don't know. Like I'm pretty sure the Rossy WWE stuff, like obviously WWE just happened when they were in NXT to target Stardom. They were some of the best women's wrestlers in the world, right? Like that's how it goes. But it also wasn't exclusive. Like they signed Asuka, right? And they signed Sari, right? So it wasn't like it was Stardom exclusive or anything like that. Anyway, I think that's probably overlooking it at this point, considering we don't even know what Rossy's roster is going to be or what his shows are going to be look like or what the company, right? They don't have a dojo, they don't have a training system, anything like that. WWE, again, I just have to be clear about this, has made no public like confirmed partnerships with any Japanese companies. Okay, they sent Charlie Dempsey to All Japan because he's Regal's kid. They thought it would be cool, right? Like that's literally it. Okay, I think people are really paranoid about it, and for good reasons, because WWE sucks or whatever. But until I see it happen, I'm going to err on the side of skepticism.
Yeah, I think there's, like you said, that there's potential maybe down the line that they may do a similar deal to a Dempsey, but like you said, we don't have a name for the promotion, we don't have a start date, we don't have a roster, so I think speculation on partnerships with the major American companies is getting a little bit ahead of ourselves at this stage. But I see where the speculation's coming from with some of the headlines, but I think it's a little overblown.
Okay, friends, it is that time. Yeah, we're only going an hour today. We're going to let people go watch the Dumb Company, but not Dumb Positive, the Dumb Bad.
The Best Company.
It's time for the Beast of the Week. I'm strong. Okay, everybody. There's so many good shows. I think collectively we should say Hinare. Is that fine with you guys?
Yeah, we're on
okay.
That,
yeah. Works for me.
Okay. I'm not going to well, Jamie usually go first, but I'm just going to get started. I'm not going to overthink it. My Beast of the Week is Zack Sabre Jr. He was incredible this weekend in his match. He had put on one of the best performances of the year, and it showed as a wrestler while also keeping his own completely unique style. Not much more I can say about Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah. My Beast of the Week is Francesco Akira, who I think was my favorite guy in the War Games match. I think he came in with an interesting story of being a little hesitant, and maybe he was clearly afraid of the War Games match coming in. And I think that obviously that played throughout the match. And then he had a stellar performance. A lot of big spots in there. Obviously played a big part towards the climax of the match in terms of Ospreay coming in for the save, and then kind of costing Ospreay at the end. But that mainly his backstage promo kind of capped it all off in terms of he acknowledged those fears coming into that match and kind of facing up to them and kind of doing as much as he can. And I think Francesco Akira, we talk about the future of New Japan, is someone I'm very hopeful that they're going to pull the trigger on this year. I think he should be the one to beat Desperado and run back that Best of the Super Juniors match and give him the title. But yeah, Francesco Akira, my Beast of the Week.
My Beast of the Week is a man who kind of let the world on fire this week. This man is pretty unbelievable. and this man is Patrick fucking Mahomes. I mean, Jesus, like who else can I give it to? Honestly, I mean the way he led his comeback on Sunday, pretty fucking unbelievable. So Patrick Mahomes is my beast of the week.
And that's a strong choice. I think he deserves Beast of the Week this week. Okay, only an hour this week, everybody. We really appreciate you turning in. Our viewers, even though it was a different day, our viewership stayed fantastic. We have been like little peek behind the curtain. Like our viewership has been really consistently great for the last like couple months, and it just keeps going up. So we really appreciate the growth, people who tune in, and shout out to fucking. Actually, you know what? Let's. I'm gonna just. I think our collective beast of the week should be Twitter user Chick Fritz for putting together that edit of all of us. I think think you all would agree with that. Is that fine? Jamie, I'll let you sort out what to do with Hanare and all that.
And real quick,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Please stop sending Wrestle Purist members pictures of garlic parmesan wings. I cannot take it anymore. It
was
gross.
funny like the first time,
Please
not
stop.
the 87th time. So
Please
I'm good
stop.
on that.
No more garlic parm wings.
Okay, all right, everybody. We will talk.
Wings.
Yeah, okay. We will talk to you all later. We love you. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.